The Bible speaks of unusual events taking place in the heavenlies, supernatural occurrences with the sun, the moon, and the stars that directly relate to an important prophetic event in biblical history. As I speak, we may be experiencing such an occurrence today on Jewish Voice. Shalom and welcome to Jewish Voice, a program to help you to understand the roots of your Christian faith, Bible prophecy, and world events surrounding Israel. This week, we're celebrating the Feast of Passover. This is a monumental event in Jewish history commemorating the deliverance of the Israelites out of Egypt. Now, in years past, we've told the Passover story during this actual Passover week, but this year, there's something really unusual happening. Actually, it didn't catch my attention until recently, but it's just too big to pass over. My guest today, Pastor Mark Biltz, stumbled on a profound discovery, a sign the Bible predicted over 2,000 years ago that may be taking place right now as you watch this program, a blood moon or a complete lunar eclipse happening this week, but it's not the only one. Is this phenomenon a warning from God? Please welcome Pastor Mark Biltz. Mark, welcome. First of all, welcome to Phoenix officially. We had you on a webcast. I felt like you were in the studio, but it was through the internet. So it's great to have you here in person. I've got to tell you, there hasn't been a topic this compelling since Jonathan Cahn brought us the revelation of the Harbinger. This is absolutely fascinating, and there's so many more people than usual because of this topic. It's absolutely capturing everyone's attention. I want you to begin by talking about events happening in the heavenly bodies, specifically on feast days. So as people are watching, Passover's taking place. Sure. So this is a really key moment.
Well, thank you so much for having me here, Jonathan. It's such a blessing to be here. And the amazing thing to me, I think everyone believes the Bible. I mean, if God said it, that settles it, I believe it. And in Genesis 1:14, God said he created the sun and the moon to send signals. It's so missed in our Bible because we have not the best translation in English, because he says he created it for signs and seasons, days and years. But that word season is translated as feast in Leviticus 23. The same Hebrew word. Does it mean fall or food? Well, actually, it's neither. It's the Moedim, or God's divine appointments. I think many of your audience believe in divine appointments, but they don't know their schedule.
How many believe in divine appointments? And many of you watching, too. Divine appointment, we all do.
Well, can you believe they're scheduled? They're scheduled divine appointments, and that's what Passover is, one of those scheduled divine appointments. So here in Genesis, God said he created the sun and the moon to send signals on his feast days. And like you said, this week we have a total lunar eclipse, blood moon, happening on Passover.
As people are watching this program, this is so compelling, I almost don't know where to begin. But tell us where you began. How did you, I want to avoid saying stumbling into all this, but this is like a detective experience. You trace this down. So wherever this ends up, it's an amazing story. How did you come into all this?
In 2008, I saw a total lunar eclipse over the Temple Mount. And I was just thinking how beautiful it was. And then, of course, the scriptures like Luke 21:25, where Jesus said there will be signs.
Wait, you saw this where? Literally?
Literally. It was on the internet, and it was on Purim. Okay, this is on Purim in March of 2008. And this beautiful total red blood moon over the Temple Mount. It was on the internet. And I was thinking, man, that is so cool. And I think of Revelation and Isaiah and Joel, where it talks about the moon turning to blood. Well, that's what a total lunar eclipse is, a blood red moon. So I went to NASA's website just to see if there was any interesting eclipses over the next decade. Because God created everything so scientifically and mathematically, NASA literally has 5,000 years of eclipses. They know exactly to the day where they're going to occur, how long they're going to occur.
I want to understand that clearly. NASA is able to actually go back for 5,000 years and say on this specific date, 4,200 years ago, on this Thursday, there was a full eclipse of the moon.
I think they go back to 2000 BC and forward to 3000 AD. So it's like 5,000 years.
To the day.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I heard a wow in the audience.
That is math.
Incredible.
That is science. And so it's just following the math. And so when I saw in 2014 and 2015, there were these 4 total lunar eclipses in a row. And I never thought much more about it, but I thought, wow, how often does that happen? And so I looked, and it didn't happen at all in the 1800s. It didn't happen in the 1700s. It didn't happen in the 1600s. So I'm thinking, well, hey, this is kind of interesting. And one night, I would always get up early in the morning, and pray. I was inspired to pray in my prayer closet, which is literally my walk-in closet. And I was just praying in there about 4 in the morning. And as I'm thinking about this thought came to me, you need to put this on the biblical calendar. Because when I was looking at NASA, I was looking at April and September or April and October. And so I thought, okay. So I went to my software and I put it on the biblical calendar.
Because that's God's calendar.
And that's God's calendar. And I noticed it fell on Passover and Tabernacles 2 years in a row. And then I was like doing a hallelujah dance. I just could not believe
What
this.
an amazing revelation. And it just came to you to do that.
It just came to me to put it on the biblical calendar. And when I did that, I saw it and I thought, oh my goodness, how often do you get 4 blood moons in a row, number one? And then on top of that, what are the odds of having these 4 in a row on the feast days? So I went back and looked and saw it happen twice in the 1900s. 1967 and 68 when Israel captured Jerusalem. And then again, right after they became a nation in 1948, in 1949 and 1950. And then I was just floored.
So you found that it only happened right after Israel became a nation and right after Jerusalem came back under the control of the Jewish people.
And so
all prophesied.
Yeah, and so I see Genesis 1:14 and I'm thinking, good grief. He literally meant what he said.
Hey, we have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk specifically about what blood moons are and what this all means. Don't go away.
Here at Jewish Voice, we are dedicated to proclaiming the gospel, the good news that Yeshua, Jesus, is the Messiah, to the Jew first and also to the nations. One key way we do this is by providing life-saving medical help to some of the most impoverished and needy Jewish people in the world. Our medical teams provide more than just physical care and comfort. It opens the door for us to share God's love and the good news that Jesus is their true Messiah. Today, we are urgently preparing for our next medical clinic in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. There we will minister to 2 impoverished Jewish communities, the Beta Avraham and the Beta Israel. Our volunteer medical professionals will be providing a clinic for eye surgery, glasses, dental procedures, and specialized medical treatments, all free of charge, to thousands of men, women, and children, many of whom have never even seen a doctor or dentist. We go with a powerful sense of urgency because we know that for some awaiting our arrival, time is literally running out. Infants and toddlers are the most vulnerable and the most likely to die needlessly for lack of basic medical care. The need will be enormous, the lines will be long, and right now, our supplies of medicines and resources are limited. How many can we help? The answer lies in part with you. Will you help save and transform the lives of precious people from Israel's lost tribes by sharing your most generous gift today? As our special thank you, when you respond with a gift of $40 or more today, we'll send you Pastor Mark Biltz's eye-opening new book, Blood Moons, Decoding the Imminent Heavenly Signs. As you read, you'll gain a better understanding of the blood moons phenomena and the divine link between heavenly signs, historical happenings, and prophecy. We'll also send you a powerful teaching by Rabbi Jonathan Bernis called A Rabbi Looks at Israel. In this remarkable DVD presentation captured on location in Israel, Jonathan takes you on a prophetic tour of Israel, revealing the end-time significance of numerous key sites. Finally, as an ongoing expression of our thanks for choosing to help so many in need, you'll receive our Jewish Voice Today magazine. To share a gift in support of this desperately needed outreach and request your thank you resources, please call, click, or write now. And remember, Your generous gift of $40, $80, $120 or more will help provide life-saving medical help to some very needy Jewish people. Once again, time is of the essence for many of these people. Please respond right now.
The Bible speaks of unusual events taking place in the heavenlies, supernatural occurrences with the sun, the moon, and the stars that directly relate to an important prophetic event in biblical history. As I speak, we may be experiencing such an occurrence today on Jewish Voice. I'm back with Pastor Mark Biltz, who's written a new book called Blood Moons, Decoding the Imminent Heavenly Signs. Mark, I just began with the interview saying how compelling this is, and it really is. I'm fascinated by this. Explain to us more clearly what a blood moon is.
I think one of the things that make him significant to begin with is the fact that God said he created him to send signals. So that makes him significant. Then what makes it more significant in decoding these heavenly signs is when they fall on the feast days. When you look at NASA's website, it lists approximately 12,000 lunar eclipses over 5,000 years. Okay, so that means there's a little over 2 a year. Okay, if there's 5,000 years times 2, that's 10,000. Well, there's 12,000 lunar eclipses.
Just any kind of eclipse, right?
Yes. The difference is this: a total lunar eclipse, it would be the blood red moon, but you can also have a partial lunar eclipse, where only half the moon is covered and it doesn't turn that blood red. Then
so a blood moon is a full eclipse of the moon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a total lunar eclipse. Then they have what's called a penumbral lunar eclipse, where it's more grayish. It doesn't go through the Earth's umbra, just the penumbra, and so doesn't turn that blood red. So basically you have 3 types of lunar eclipses, right? I love math. And according to NASA, there's 12,000 lunar eclipses over 5,000 years, but only about 3,700 were total lunar eclipses.
Okay.
So that just dropped the odds down.
Got it.
Okay.
We're cutting this
down. You have 5,000 years, approximately 3,700 total lunar eclipses, which means that averages only 1 every year and a half. All right? Well, here you have 4 total lunar eclipses in a year and a half. So that raised the statistical odds just huge. Then on top of that, they're falling on the Jewish feast days. That raises it even more. Then on top of that, the last total lunar eclipse in 2015 not only is a total blood moon, but it is at perigee. And what I mean by that is this. Here's the Earth. The moon's orbit is elliptical. So sometimes it's real close, sometimes it's far away. It does that every month, okay? When the moon is at its closest point to the Earth, that's when it is at perigee. But let's look at the odds for a minute. Not always is it a full moon at perigee. Sometimes it's a new moon, you can't even see it. But if it is a full moon at perigee, then it's called a supermoon. It appears like 14% larger, according to NASA, because it's so close. It just appears larger. Well, here's the thing. Not only is the total lunar eclipse at perigee, it is at its closest point for the entire year, not just that month. So here you're going to have a total blood...
On Sukkot.
On Sukkot. You're going to have a total red blood moon that is seen in Jerusalem on Sukkot. That is a super blood moon. When all the Jews are out in their sukkahs looking up at the stars, they're going to see a super blood moon over Jerusalem, and there's more.
I'm getting goosebumps. and these are facts. We are talking about facts. Before we get into what it all means, these are the facts.
These are the facts.
And the odds are getting greater and greater. You have any numbers? You're a math man.
Well, not that good. But here's the thing that's amazing. According to the Torah, only the men had to appear in Jerusalem 3 times a year for the feast. But at the end of the Shemitah year, at the end of the 7th year, every man, woman, child, even the stranger had to appear and hear the king of Israel read from the Torah.
Let me guess, 2015.
Is the end of a Shemitah year. So here you have yes. So look at these odds. You have a super blood moon seen in Jerusalem on Sukkot at its closest point to Earth when everyone's looking at it, and it is at the end of a Shemitah year when all believers are assembled to hear the King of Israel.
You mentioned the word tetrad.
Yes.
Which I know is 4. Expound on that.
Sure. What NASA calls a tetrad is when you have 4 total lunar eclipses or 4 blood moons in a row without having a partial lunar eclipse or a penumbral lunar eclipse in between. And that has only happened 8 times in 2,000 years.
The odds are just stacking up.
Yes.
And they haven't connected this to the Jewish calendar, of course. But when you superimpose the Jewish calendar, the Hebrew calendar, God's calendar, Passover, Sukkot, the last one being a
super blood moon at the end of a Shemitah year. And what's absolutely incredible, it's not just 4 blood moons. God said he created them for signs on his feast days. Do you know, in 70 AD, when the temple was destroyed, there were solar lunar eclipses on all the feast days in 69, 70, and 71 AD, eclipses surrounding the destruction of the temple.
The signs are there. Let those have ears to hear and eyes to see, hear and see. And by the way, I want to remind you, as this program is airing, the first of the 4 is actually taking place either tomorrow or a few days after you watch. This is incredible. Now, let's talk about what meaneth this.
Sure.
What I really like in getting to know you and talk about this is you're just pointing out the facts.
Right.
Here's a fact of Scripture, okay? And this is when I heard blood moon, and I'm sure many of you, same thing, you immediately thought of Joel chapter 2. And let me just read this. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and billows of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood. I never understood that before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Good news follows, by the way. I'd better read it. Everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. I don't want to, in a program like this, we don't want to leave that out. That's why we're here. And then Acts chapter 2, it's repeated in 2:19 and 20. Joel's repeated where Peter is proclaiming, I will show wonders in the heavens and above, signs on the earth below, fire, blood and fire and billows of smoke. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and glorious day of the Lord. And then he says, of course, repeats, everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. 3,000 get saved.
Woohoo!
3,000 Jewish people. Come on! That's a big moment in history. I want to connect this, but we're out of time. We're out of time to do that. We are going to have Mark back next week, and we're going to ask that question, and you're going to answer that question. What does this all mean? So you don't want to miss that. Mark has written an incredible book, Blood Moons, Decoding the Imminent Heavenly Signs, and this is groundbreaking using the biblical calendar. Mark shares an amazing discovery, lunar eclipses that happen to fall on key biblical holidays over the next 2 years, beginning this week. And this is you decide, is this a coincidence or is this an urgent message from God to warn us? We'll be back next week to find out.
Here at Jewish Voice, we are dedicated to proclaiming the gospel, the good news that Yeshua, Jesus, is the Messiah, to the Jew first and also to the nations. One key way we do this is by providing life-saving medical help to some of the most impoverished and needy Jewish people in the world. Our medical teams provide more than just physical care and comfort. It opens the door for us to share God's love and the good news that Jesus is their true Messiah. Today, we are urgently preparing for our next medical clinic in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. There we will minister to 2 impoverished Jewish communities, the Beta Avraham and the Beta Israel. Our volunteer medical professionals will be providing a clinic for eye surgery, glasses, dental procedures, and specialized medical treatments, all free of charge, to thousands of men, women, and children, many of whom have never even seen a doctor or dentist. We go with a powerful sense of urgency because we know that for some awaiting our arrival, time is literally running out. Infants and toddlers are the most vulnerable and the most likely to die needlessly for lack of basic medical care. The need will be enormous. The lines will be long. And right now, our supplies of medicines and resources are limited. How many can we help? The answer lies in part with you. Will you help save and transform the lives of precious people from Israel's lost tribes by sharing your most generous gift today? As our special thank you, when you respond with a gift of $40 or more today, we'll send you Pastor Mark Biltz's eye-opening new book, Blood Moons, Decoding the Imminent Heavenly Signs. As you read, you'll gain a better understanding of the blood moons phenomena and the divine link between heavenly signs, historical happenings, and prophecy. We'll also send you a powerful teaching by Rabbi Jonathan Bernis called A Rabbi Looks at Israel. In this remarkable DVD presentation captured on location in Israel, Jonathan takes you on a prophetic tour of Israel, revealing the end-time significance of numerous key sites. Finally, as an ongoing expression of our thanks for choosing to help so many in need, you'll receive our Jewish Voice Today magazine. To share a gift in support of this desperately needed outreach and request your thank you resources, please call, click, or write now. And remember, your generous gift of $40, $80, $120 or more will help provide life-saving medical help to some very needy Jewish people. Once again, time is of the essence for many of these people. Please respond right now.
One Jewish community that many of you have helped us to reach out to is the Beta Israel. This is the House of Israel in Ethiopia. These Ethiopian Jews, who are among the poorest of the poor, hope of one day going to Israel. But in the meantime, they're suffering in severe poverty and they're desperate for help. Here's a close look at the Beta Israel, the House of Israel in Gondar, Ethiopia.
Imagine a life of hardship, hunger, and despair, teetering on a knife-edge existence with no promise of tomorrow. As an Ethiopian Jew, part of the Beta Israel community, you are an outcast, marginalized by society and despised by neighbors. This is the harsh reality for so many here. This is the life of Wagaya Getty. Today, she's making the difficult journey over the hilly and dusty roads of Gondar, dodging cars, goat herds, and crowds of people. A hike that will take her an hour and a half on blistered feet. But she's heard about the clinic, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to get the medical attention she desperately needs, having endured abdominal pain brought on by complications during pregnancy. This will be the very first time she sees a physician. Dr. Lawrence is an emergency room doctor from Dallas. He wants to check her heart and lung functions to assess her overall health.
Now treating her for her pain, but she's going to need to go to the GYN for a continued workup.
Dr. Fajardo from Columbia is a specialist at the clinic and was able to give her an ultrasound on site to aid in her diagnosis. It's the very first medical treatment of such she has ever received, and she is most likely unaware of the important role it plays in her health care. Here in the prayer tent, she meets with volunteers who administer much-needed prayer for her health and family, as well as encouragement in hopes of lifting her spirit that is understandably downtrodden, offering a chance to unload the tremendous burden she shoulders each day. Hearing the good news of Yeshua, the spiritual counseling she receives is perhaps the first time she is told that while she has been abandoned, she is not forgotten or alone, that God sees her plight and is reaching out to her even this very day through these volunteers acting as the hands and his feet of Yeshua.
I want to personally invite you to join us on our next medical outreach. We really need volunteers. We need you. To volunteer, you can email us at outreach@jvmi.org. Again, that email is outreach@jvmi.org. And if you can't personally join us on one of these outreaches, there's still a way that you can help these precious people. And I'll tell you right after this break. We'll be right back.
Coming this summer, July 5th through July 12th, join Jonathan Bernis and his family on a spectacular 7-day cruise to Alaska. You'll experience beautiful scenery, worship, and musical performances by concert violinist Maurice Sklar and modern-day psalmist Marty Goetz. There'll also be great fellowship, as well as teachings by Jonathan Bernis on the Jewish roots of our faith, and special guest Mark Biltz, who's a recognized authority on the blood moons phenomenon. Please check our website at www.jewishvoice.org for updates. To register now, call Jabez Travel at 1-888-435-3787, email Lisa at allchristiancruises.com, or visit our website. The cruise is departing from Vancouver, British Columbia, and it's a voyage you won't want to miss. Be sure to join us in beautiful Alaska.
Since 1967, Jewish Voice has been dedicated to proclaiming the good news that Yeshua, Jesus, is Messiah and Savior, to the Jew first and also to the nations. Now, one way that we do this is by helping some of the most impoverished and needy Jewish people in the world. We've been able to demonstrate God's love by providing these precious people with medical care, with dental care, with eye care, even eye surgeries, all completely free of charge. But most importantly, we use this to proclaim the gospel, the good news, and it's through your faithful support that we're able to make a difference in their lives. As our way of saying thank you, I'd like to send you Mark Biltz's latest book, Blood Moons, Decoding the Imminent Heavenly Signs. I don't often say that a book is a must-read, but this one is different. The men of Issachar were wise, the Bible tells us, because they understood the times. And if God is trying to warn us through heavenly occurrences, we need to heed those warnings. This book brings to light factual occurrences on specific dates according to NASA. What they mean is for you to decide, but you need to know. In addition, I also want you to have a DVD that's really special to me because I did it on location in Israel. It's called Rabbi Looks at Israel. Basically, I take you on a prophetic tour of Israel where I reveal the end-time significance of many key sites in the actual place where they're going to happen. And as an additional bonus, when you share and request these resources, we'll also want you to have our Jewish Voice Today magazine. This is a bi-monthly magazine about some really vital topics pertaining to Israel, Bible prophecy, and to the Jewish roots of your faith. This is a great resource, and I want to get it into your hands. And remember, when you choose to receive these materials, your gift will be used to help some of the most impoverished and needy Jewish people in the entire world. Hey, by the way, we're on Facebook. You can check us out by going to facebook.com/Jewish Voice. And when you do, be sure to like our page, and then you can stay up to date on everything that's happening here at Jewish Voice. We're out of time. As I leave you today, I want to remind you to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And the Bible says that when you do, you'll prosper. Psalm 122:6 says, "They shall prosper that love thee." Until next time, this is Jonathan Bernis saying shalom, and God bless you.
Jewish Voice is made possible by the support of friends and partners like you.